Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. So, I'm back for another Have Your Say video where you get to vote on whether you agree with the outcome of this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes, we know.
And this video is for season 17, episode 14. So today we're going to be recapping the episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll, and I'll be talking about a little bit of light drama to do with Trinity The Tuck setting the record straight on her comments on Suzie Toot, as well as her response to Suzie Toot and Aiden Zhane. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Okay, so let's dive into the episode because there was a lot to unpack in this episode. It was a little bit of a confusing one because I feel like there wasn't necessarily one specific challenge. It was kind of a mix of different things. But the theme of the episode is that the queens are going to be auditioning for RuPaul's Drag Race Live, which is the live show in Vegas. And they have to do several things, including a photo shoot, a promotional video, a sit-down interview with Latrice Royale, as well as a promo video for the show. As I mentioned, it was a little bit of a kind of difficult episode to really think about how you're going to judge it. So I'll get onto that in a minute, but we're only going to go through, I think, the things where the queens actually had a lot of airtime specifically, and then some of the other things we're just going to gloss over because, frankly, they weren't necessarily that interesting.
How could you say that?
Okay, so we started out with the photo shoot, and I think overall it was kind of what you expected. They were definitely trying to show certain people, like, Jules Sparkle's doing really well, and she was really fun and flirty and all of that kind of stuff, which is what we love. And then on the other hand, we had people like Suzie, who maybe you could see they were trying to set this narrative that she was potentially going to be in trouble this week. But there wasn't a huge amount to say about all of it, so I'm just going to kind of gloss over the photo shoot. But let's move on to what I think was probably the main part of the episode in a way, which was the sit-down interview with Latrice Royale. Okay, so I'll go through the interviews in order in which they appeared, and they were just kind of asking questions and having a general chat about them, their drag, and things like that. Okay, so starting out with Sam Starr. I personally really enjoyed Sam's interview. I know the judges tried to say that she came across as being a bit cocky or whatever, but I'm like, isn't that what the queens are supposed to be like? Like, we love queens that are cocky. I mean, think of some of the most iconic Drag Race queens. They were really cocky and funny, and I kind of thought Sam was really funny. She was really charismatic. She had an answer for everything. I don't personally think she came across as being overly cocky, like maybe a little bit, but not that much. So I personally would give it a yay because I did actually enjoy her interview. Maybe that says more about me than it does about Sam.
Yes, it does.
In terms of the votes, you voted just okay with 46%. Yay only got 36.6, and then Nay got 17. So I guess you were more on the just okay side, whereas I was more on the yay side. Then moving on to Anya Nerve's interview. Now, I know the judges made a comment about what Anya was wearing, and I guess I did, maybe compared to the others, it did feel a little bit more kind of, it looked quite serious or quite formal. Like, it kind of looked like something that the First Lady would wear to some kind of special event. But I actually quite enjoyed it because I think it kind of went with the vibe that Anya had. I did think Anya came across as being a bit more reserved in her interview. It wasn't quite as sort of charismatic as I thought she was going to be, because she is normally really fun and out there, but in this one she seemed quite guarded and quite almost unsure of herself. So I don't know, maybe that's what she's really like and she just puts on a front to be this sort of big character. So I did enjoy it, but I don't think it was quite as it didn't connect with me quite as much as some of the others. So I think I'd have to give it a just okay. And it seemed like you were quite split because the majority voted yay with 47.1, but then just okay also got 44.9%, which is a decent amount, with Nay only getting 8%. Then we had Suzie Toot's interview. I thought Suzie's was interesting, and it was quite fun. We found out a bit of sort of backstory between the fact that Suzie and Latrice sort of know each other because they're both from Fort Lauderdale, I think it is. So that was like a nice little thing. I think Suzie came across well. I don't think maybe it was as funny or whatever as maybe some of the other people, but I still think she did a decent job. So I probably would give it a just okay, but more towards the yay side. It seems like you agreed because 47.5% voted just okay, 31.6 for yay, and then 20.9 for nay. Then we had Lexi Love's interview. I really enjoyed Lexi's. I think she just naturally had this charisma and she was just so likable in it, but she's got such an amazing backstory about the struggles that she's had. And she talked about being the victim of a human trafficking incident, which we didn't know about before, I don't think. And so that was really heavy, but she managed to turn it into such a sort of a teachable learning moment. And she talked about being overly emotional, but then said, I'm just obviously emotional because of the hormones and things. So I think she managed to turn it around really well and she came across really well. So I definitely would give Lexi a yay. And it seemed like you overwhelmingly agreed because you got 62.1% for yay, 27.7% for just okay, so still decent amount, and then only 10% for nay. And then finally, Jules Sparkle's interview. I loved Jules's so much. She was just so fun, charismatic, energetic the whole episode. I loved like the ding thing that she kept doing, and it was like a running joke that I thought it didn't get overly annoying or whatever. It was just a funny joke and it had a through line throughout the episode. So I really enjoyed her. And the only part they tried to sort of make look as a bad thing in a way was when Latrice said, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" and Jules was kind of stumped and didn't say anything. I wonder how much time actually did go by where she didn't say anything. I wonder if there was maybe a little bit of editing magic in there to make it look longer than it was. But the fact that she managed to kind of turn it around and say, I had never thought about what I do after Drag Race because the goal was Drag Race for so long. And I thought actually that was really interesting and quite insightful. So to me, that actually turned it around and made it a good thing. So I would definitely give Jules a yay. And again, it seems like you agreed because you voted 57.9% for yay, 33% just okay, and then 9.1% for nay. And then in terms of the slay, I then said, who do you think had the best interview? And you voted 33.3% for Jules Sparkles, 32% for Lexi Love, 13.9% for Anya Nerve, 12.7% for Sam Star, and 8.1% for Suzie Toot. I'm very torn between Jules and Lexi. I think maybe Lexi's was a bit more insightful, a bit more powerful, whereas Jules's was maybe a bit funnier as well. I think I would personally have to give it to Jules just because I really did enjoy her sort of like fun flirtiness and that kind of, I really enjoyed that persona that she has. But I would just like to say, shout out, I did actually personally enjoy Sam's, but I guess you didn't as much. So who knows? Maybe I'm just also a terrible cocky person.
Oh, yes, you are.
Okay, so then the Queens did a performance of the song Gift Shop. Now, this one was weird because it was only for like 2 minutes or something, and there was no verse. I kept waiting for the verses thinking, are they not doing a verse challenge? And then when it ended, I thought, is that it?
Is that it?
Was that it?
Well, I'm bitterly disappointed.
So I was waiting the whole time thinking there was going to be a verse or something, but it was literally just a performance with no verses, no nothing, and some dancers. So yeah, there's not as much to say. Personally, I will not be meeting them in the gift shop, but you do you, girl. Okay, so let's move on to the runway, and I'll go through them in order in which they appeared. And the category was Opulent Outerwear. And is it a coincidence that I'm wearing some sort of outerwear today, which is obviously opulent? We'll never know.
Burn it now.
So starting off with Jules Sparkles. I thought Jules lived up to her name, Sparkles. I loved this outfit so much. It sparkled, the feathers looked so rich, it looked so Vegas, showgirl. Loved the color, kept keeping it sort of simple with that sort of off-white ivory. I don't know if that's the color. I know my 10 or 11 PhDs in fashion at this point are really working overtime. I just loved it. I thought the makeup, the hair, everything was just absolutely incredible. So yeah, this was by far a yay for me. And you seem to agree because you voted 76.7% for yay, 20.1% for just okay, and then 3.3% of you voted for nay. Then moving on to Lexi Love. I did enjoy this outfit, and it definitely did have the outerwear part down because it was probably the most outerwear looking of a lot of them because it was just this huge coat. I did think that the underneath was maybe a slightly less impressive. I do think that because I'm pretty sure Utica designed this, and I saw someone posted that I think Utica originally had a dress that she made for Lexi underneath, but Lexi didn't wear the dress. I just think this underneath bit was maybe a little bit too simple, but the outerwear part was really nice. So I would give this a just okay, more towards the yay side, but still a just okay. And it seems like you agreed because you voted 39.6% for just okay, but then 39%, only a little bit less, said yay, so I would agree it was between the two, and then 21.4% for nay. Then moving on to Anya Nerve. I loved this look. I loved the oversized huge earrings. It was just such a centerpiece. The big coat, the colors, everything about this, the way she sold it on the runway. I personally really enjoyed this outfit, and I really liked that it was something slightly different that we didn't see from some of the others, so it made it stand out to me. So I would definitely give this a yay. And you seem to agree. 54.2% voted yay, 29.1% for just okay, and then 16.6% for nay. Then moving on to Sam Star. Now, this was not my favorite of the outfits. I think it looked really pretty. The color and everything was really lovely. It sparkled, but I think you could tell that this was most likely borrowed from one of her drag sisters or mother, like Trinity and Chantal Sparkles. It just didn't quite look like something Sam would wear. It did look a little bit older, as I think some of the judges said as well. So I don't know. I think I'd give it a just okay, because it wasn't bad, but I don't think it quite said what it needed to say. I don't think it quite fit the brief, but also I don't think it quite felt like Sam. So yeah, it was a just okay because it was fine. And then you voted 42.1% for just okay, 37% for yay, and then 20.9% for nay. And then finally, we had Suzie Toot. I loved this outfit so much. I loved the color. I loved the fact that it really was matching her vibe of this sort of 1920s flapper. And you had obviously the feathers in the little cap and everything. That part I loved. The long cigarette. It kind of was giving me Cruella de Vil if Cruella wore red. But I just really loved it. I thought it was elevated, it was fun, it was beautiful. So this was definitely a yay for me. And you voted 74.6% for yay, 17.1% for just okay, and then 8.3% for nay. And then for the slay, we then voted for who had the best outfit. And you said 39.2% for Suzie Toot, 29.3% for Jules Sparkles, 18.8% for Anya Nerve, 7.2% for Lexi, and 5.5% for Sam. Again, I was really torn this week between two people, Jules and Suzie. I think I would have to agree that Suzie would take it for me because it was just something so sort of out there and maybe almost slightly unexpected. Not the flapperness of it all, because we know that's what she does, but she hasn't done an outfit like this in terms of really big opulent necessarily for a while, so I did enjoy that. And then moving on to the other part of the episode that I think was probably the main part, which was the promotional videos for the Drag Race Live Las Vegas show. Starting with Jules Sparkles, I really enjoyed Jules's. It definitely met the theme that she had going throughout the episode of being fun and flirty. The ding thing was also really funny, and you could tell the judges really enjoyed that. I think she also sold the show well, which some of the other queens didn't, and that is obviously the brief of the video. So yeah, to me, this hit every mark, so I would give it a yay. You voted overwhelmingly yay with 88.7%, 9.3% for just okay, and then 2% for nay. Then moving on to Lexi Love's promotional video. This one was not my favorite necessarily. As the judges said, it did kind of come across a little bit more like another type of show that you might see on the Las Vegas Strip. I can see what she was going for with some of the innuendos and stuff, but I do think it verged a bit too far, and it kind of more just sounded a bit like a stripper show or something. Nothing wrong with a stripper show, by the way, but that's obviously not what Drag Race Live is, I think.
No strippers. Just one stripper, please.
So unfortunately, I think I would have to give it a nay, potentially, because I don't think it met the brief, but it would have been between a nay and a just okay. And it seems like you agreed, because you voted 47.6% for nay, but then 41.2% for just okay, so a decent amount, and then 11.2% for yay. Then we had Anya Nerve's promotional video. I really enjoyed Anya's one because I think it actually went back to how we sort of know and love Anya as being this sort of big personality. I thought right from the get-go when she was like, you know, you jive turkey or whatever, I thought that was just so funny because it really captures your attention. You can imagine if you're walking down the lobby of a hotel and there's those screens with videos playing, you've really got to capture people's attention as they're walking past, and I thought Anya did that. Also, the fact that she made the joke about, you know, you'll have a chicken dinner and a show for one price, I thought that was really funny, and it was one of the only ones that had actual jokes and was really funny. So I would definitely give Anya a yay, because I would definitely go to see that show. And surprisingly, I thought you were going to vote more in yay, because it was only 63.2% and then 31.5% for just okay. Then we had Sam Star's promotional video. I thought Sam did an okay job, but I don't think she sold the show maybe quite as much. I don't know. There was just something about it. It didn't quite connect with me, but I think she did a perfectly fine job. Would I stop and watch the video if I was in the hotel lobby? Maybe not. I don't think she quite had that thing to just sort of capture me and pull me straight away. So I think I would give it a just okay. And you voted 53.1% for just okay, 35.2% for nay, so quite a decent amount for nay, and then 11.7% for yay. And then finally was Suzie Toot's promotional video. I think the issue with Suzie was that I don't think she was confident selling like a Las Vegas thing because she's more of a kind of Broadway sort of person. And I think that did come across a little bit. I did enjoy that she was trying to make jokes. Like she made that joke at the end about being a hoe and then was like, wait, what did I just call myself? So I can see that she was trying, but again, I just don't think it really hit the nail on the head. I don't think I would have stopped to watch the video because it didn't capture my attention. So I guess I would have to give it a nay, but maybe towards the just okay side, because I do think she was really trying. It just didn't connect. And you voted 58% for nay, so the majority, 32.2% for just okay, and then only 9.8% for yay. And then talking about the slay. What the hell was that? You voted 71.6% for Jules Sparkle, so the overwhelming majority, 21.6% for On Your Nerve, 3.3% for Suzie Toot, and 1.9% for Sam Star. I think I would have to agree. I really enjoyed Jules's, and I think it hit the brief. It was fun. The ding thing, I think, was really the big part of it, and it really connected. Okay, so we find out that the winner is Jules Sparkles. And I do definitely agree. I think she had the best through line throughout the episode. And I do think they were kind of setting her up for it from the start because she was clearly in her element the entire time. I mean, you could tell that she loved being on her knees around those pit crew members. And I mean, who can blame her? And so I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the winner? And you voted 83.1% for yes, so the vast majority, and then 16.9% said no. And then for that 16.9% that did say no, I said, if you selected no, who do you think should have won instead? And you voted On Your Nerve with 53.1%, Lexi Love with 22.7%, Suzie Toot with 14%, and Sam with 10.1%. Okay, and then we find out that the bottom two are Suzie Toot and Sam Star. I asked you, did you agree with the bottom two? And interestingly, it was almost a 50-50 split. So yes said 50.4%, whereas no got 49.6%. And then of almost half of the people who voted, I said, if you voted no before, who do you think should have been in the bottom two instead? And overwhelmingly, you voted 85.7% for Lexi Love, and then Anya got 8.9% and Jules got 5.4%. So Suzie and Sam then lip-synced to the song Love Child by Diana Ross and the Supremes. Also, I did not realize, maybe it was just me being dumb, but I didn't realize that the guest judge this week, which was Tracy Ross, is Diana Ross's daughter. And we find out that Sam wins the lip sync, which means that unfortunately Suzie Toot is eliminated. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who do you think won the lip sync? And it was almost a 50-50 split. So Suzie Toot got 50.8% and Sam Star got 49.2%. And then sort of as a follow-up, I said, did you agree with the elimination? And 55.9% said no and 44.1% said yes. And I do think I have to agree, Sam has been in the bottom a couple of times now, whereas Suzie hasn't. I do feel it felt a little bit out of pocket to just suddenly eliminate Suzie right before the finale, given that she's never landed in the bottom and she's been consistently really high this season. And so the final couple of questions were, who do you want to win the season? And you voted 46.2% for On Your Nerve, 31.8% for Jules Sparkles, 13.1% for Lexi Love, and 8.8% for Sam Star. And then on a similar note, which was who do you think will win the season? And as to be expected, I think On Your Nerve got the vast majority with 74.1%, Jules got 14%, Lexi got 8.6%, and Sam got 3.3%. And I do agree, I've said this multiple times, but I think Anya is going to win. She's the favourite in both, I think, what we think will happen and what we want to happen. I also think it's interesting that other queens like Jules Sparkles have really shot up, whereas Lexi has kind of gone down a little bit in the votes. So it'll be interesting to see who the top two are, because I think we obviously know who the top four are now. But I'm actually thinking maybe top two are now going to be Anya and Jules. I know they've really been pushing Alexi, and I did think it was going to be Alexi and Anya, but now I'm not actually so sure. So let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to make top two? Okay, so moving on to the comments for this week, and there were a lot of comments, as you can imagine. Starting with my Patreon comments, a lot of people were talking about how disappointed they were that Suzie got eliminated. For example, my Patreon Emmy said, RuPaul Andre Charles will be hearing from my lawyers after the episode I'm suing. And my Patreon Annie basically said that this episode literally put me in a depression of this week and kind of like rigor mortis and doesn't understand why Suzie was eliminated. And then my Patreon Linda kind of said something similar, saying, I admire Suzie for staying true to herself and I wish the judges had considered that for the entire season. And then my new Patreon member Natalie said, first time voting. Hi Natalie. And a bit torn with this season. I don't seem to just have one queen I'm rooting for. I find all of them still amazing kind of thing. And then my Patreon Asia, who's also new, hi Asia, said, very excited this season no matter who wins. They're all winners. I'm excited for the lip sync smackdown and all that sort of thing. So in general, they both were kind of saying, we're not sure who's going to win, but we just are happy for everyone because it's a good season. Okay, so moving on to the comments from the Have Your Say poll. There were a lot of comments, as you can imagine, saying things like justice for Suzie, Suzie was done so dirty, Suzie was robbed of her placement. And then on the flip side, we had quite a few people saying they felt like Lexi has been favored by production, which I do think maybe a little bit. There are times when she probably should have been in the bottom and she wasn't. So yeah, arguably I do semi-agree with that. Also, in general, there were just quite a few people saying they felt like this episode was rushed and asked why they didn't do, individual dances and the verses for the song. A few other people just said that they thought this was a confusing episode and there was just a lot going on. And there was also just quite a few comments about how kind of absurd the judging was. And I do agree, it did seem very harsh. Like, they really went in on some queens like Suzie. And I was a little bit surprised that usually they're a bit nicer near the end, but in this episode, there was definitely a few times they went for the jugular. But is it just me that I did kind of live for it a little bit?
I'll tell you why, because you are a mean girl.
Let me know if it's just me that's being a mean girl. And speaking of me being a mean girl, thank you so much to all of the really nice, genuinely nice comments and people saying how much they love the videos, they love the cutaways and all of the silliness that I put into these videos. It does take me quite a long time to get all of these cutaways and stuff.
Literally, no one cares.
But in general, thank you so much. I do really love all of the comments that people leave in the Have Your Say poll or in the comments on the video. And yeah, it makes all of the late nights and all of the editing sessions worth it if you all really like it. And remember, if you do like these videos, please show your appreciation by hitting the subscribe button because I'd love to get to 150k by the end of the year. Ding!
Oh, please, not this again.
Okay, so finally we're going to move on to a little bit of light drama to do with Trinity the Tuck setting the record straight about her comments to do with Suzie Toot and Aiden Zhane. So, you may remember that a few weeks ago, Trinity appeared with Sam Starr at Roscoe's, and she made some comments about Suzie Toot, and she also responded to comments made by Aiden Zhane. And I'll start with Aiden. So, as I said in one of my previous Have Your Say videos, Aiden Zhane from season 12 had tweeted criticising Drag Race queens who wear outfits from other queens, particularly their drag family members. Although Aiden didn't mention anyone specifically, most people assumed Aiden was talking about Sam because she has worn several outfits from her drag mother Trinity. Multiple people called Aiden out saying she shouldn't talk about that because she wore the same wig on season 12. Trinity then called Aiden out over 2 Instagram stories where she said that Aiden isn't qualified to criticize other queens and she should have borrowed stuff from other people because it may have helped her. Well, Trinity later addressed the Aiden situation on her YouTube channel in her Drag Race review video series called I Live For This, which she co-presents with her drag daughter Chantel Sparkles. I hadn't covered Trinity's response in my video at the time because their latest video wasn't out yet, but it is now, so let's go through it. Trinity started out by explaining the situation with Aiden and why she posted the Instagram stories, and also why Aiden shouldn't be commenting on other queens' outfits.
I don't think that she should be commenting on that when, her wardrobe has been what it was.
Well, she actually, when she got cast on season 12, I was friends with her at the time, and I offered to send her some wigs. So some of the wigs that she wore on that season, she actually wore of mine.
Trinity also said she's always going to defend her friends when people come for them, and Aiden's comments were clearly targeted towards Sam because she has worn several outfits from Trinity. Trinity also made the point that she understands that Aiden may not have been as fortunate as Sam and Jules were, that they had drag family members to borrow outfits from, but you can't blame the queens for wanting to not get themselves into debt, and lots of queens borrow outfits from other queens, but they don't always say so.
She came in some outfits from off the rack. Now, that being said, I would have never said nothing about her
Had you not poked the bear.
had she not, came for...
She opened the box.
But Trinity clarified that none of the outfits Sam has worn have been seen on Drag Race before, and Sam made the outfits her own.
She wore one garment that I wore in the workroom for literally 2 minutes of Celebrity Season 1 that nobody watched. That gown I gave to Sam a couple of years ago. So it's not my gown, it's her gown.
Yeah.
She added all these rhinestones, all these butterflies, and made it her own.
Trinity then finished her thoughts on Aiden by saying this.
I don't hate Aiden. I don't wish her anything bad. I just have something to say if you could have something to say.
Okay, so now let's move on to Suzie Toot. At Roscoe's, Trinity had made a comment saying that she didn't vibe with Suzie, and that Suzie is the only queen from season 17 that Trinity does not follow on social media. And a clip of Trinity saying this went viral on social media at the time.
Can I confess something?
Please do.
I really want to confess something. Girl, I'm just not feeling Suzie. Wow. Not her drag.
What is it?
What she getting on here?
It's not that I hate her. I'm not vibing with this like better than thou attitude. She's the only one that I don't follow.
Suzie then vaguely clapped back on Twitter and said that she doesn't follow Trinity. Then on Instagram, Trinity said she would share her thoughts in her YouTube video, so let's go through it. Trinity started out by explaining that she was at Roscoe's and made some comments about Suzie, and it's a viewing party and you're supposed to give your opinion, but people always blow it out of proportion. But Trinity said the clip that had been going around on social media was actually taken out of context, and she clarified why she said what she said about Suzie.
You didn't see the full thing. My comment came after the part in the episode where Suzie is being a little, like, I say nasty, but maybe that's the wrong term. She's being a little too emboldened to Lana when Lana's obviously about to lip sync. I have felt that energy as a viewer this entire season.
Trinity then ended by saying this about Suzie.
I don't hate Suzie. I don't know Suzie. I did not say anything that was so bad that people could be up in arms about. Girl, I don't hate Suzie. I wish her well. I think she's a great entertainer. I just have not cared for the character that I've seen on TV.
Then, if you watched my latest Roscoe's recap, you'll have seen that Suzie recently did a funny clap back to Trinity, and she said in an interview that she sent Trinity a t-shirt of hers that says F Suzie Toot on it, because she thought Trinity would like it. Well, in Trinity's latest I Live For This video on YouTube, Trinity responded to this and said that she would be including Suzie's t-shirts in a prize giveaway for her viewers.
You're actually going to get 2 items from Suzie because she actually is sending me this new shirt that she's coming out with that says "Fuck Suzie." And so
I didn't know that was real. I thought that was a joke.
No, she's been really good about coming out with like specific merch for little things that happen. We're going to include it in our package, so if you want that as well, it's going to be included there.
I'll also link to the full videos on Trinity's YouTube channel if you want to check them out. And so overall, it seems like Trinity and Suzie have somewhat settled their issues and they're just playfully reading each other. But we'll have to wait and see if any more comes of this situation. But please just remember that this is all just light-hearted, silly drama and this is not to be taken seriously. So please do not send hate to the queens and just consume this sort of content passively and don't get involved. So there you go, there was the Have Your Say video for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17, Episode 14. If you'd like to have your comments featured in my Have Your Say videos, as well as a raft of other benefits such as early access and shoutouts, please consider joining my Patreon. It's just a quick, cheap and easy way to support my channel and I really truly do appreciate it, and I'll link to my Patreon in the comments. Also, thank you so much to my amazing Patreon members. I love speaking to you in the Have Your Say poll. I love speaking to you in the Patreon exclusive chat, and your comments every week about how much you love my videos really does warm my heart, and your support is so, so appreciated. And please hit that subscribe button because I really would love to hit 150k by the end of the year. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.